Just ask, do you know how many problems we could have solved in the life that we live, in some of the conflicts we have, if someone just asked? We live in times that are quite interesting, where this is how we've been brought up, communities, nations. One thing we learn is people assume a lot, never asking the right questions. And so because people don't ask the right questions, we end up in our time of assumption. You assume someone is thinking and acting in a particular way. For example, you have two children. Let's say they are twins. The twins, each one of them has a unique character. One could be very introverted, one could be very extroverted. Does that make them any different from being twins? They remain to be twins. They're different, but they still are the same. Because we live in times where we compare so many things. We compare, we assume. You look at something or you hear a story, and then you assume that the next should be the same. You take a sample size of a community, and then you say, because 21 people behave like this, it means people of this community behave like that. That's a lie, because the 21 person could be the different one. Let's say among the 20 people, they are very chaotic. They are people nobody wants to deal with or work with. But the 21st person is different from the crowd. Or let's go to where people assume genders. You say all men or all boys are like this. You know, you could have had a bad experience with the boys or the men, whether in your life. It doesn't make all of them the same. All say all women are the same, or all girls are the same. Very different. Or we go to generation. We say the boomers, millennials, Gen Z, Alpha, or the other generations coming up. They are this like that. You could be having a sample size of 1,000, but the 1,001 is different. Or when you see people in relationship, you date someone and you say, and you carry the character of your mother and your sister and bring into the relationship, and thinking that your partner shall be like your mother or your sister. No, they'll never be. If your parent would have, let's say your mother in that example is loving, caring, and all that, you may have in a loving, caring partner, but a totally different character. Doesn't make them less loving. Or if it's the men, maybe your father or your brothers or the men in your life pamper you with chocolate, with all these things. But you meet someone who can't pamper with all those things, but they have the love and they show their presence. Does it make them any less loving than the rest? You see, the problem is because of assumption, we destroy good relationships, we destroy communities, we destroy nations, because people then presume. A simple photo can put you in so much trouble. You take a photo with someone, quite innocent, whether you know them or maybe you don't. It could be an event. And then that person took a photo with ends up doing stuff that brings a lot of, litigation issues and even crime. Remind you, when you took that photo, it was quite innocent. It could be a selfie here, it could be a handshake there. It doesn't really matter. Now, when people are going to the archives of this particular person who has issues, you are picked from that archive, and then they say, oh, look at their partners in crime. Mind you, if you even ask that person, you don't even know who they are. But now you have a photo you took with them. Now they put you by association, yet you're very innocent. So now, if they can't reach out to that person, they'll take all the vengeance on you because you just were in one photo. Because we live in a time whereby emotions run high, but logic seems to be shunned off. People don't ask the right questions, get the right information, and then they presume everything is what it is. For example, if I could share my part of life, academics, when it came to something called mathematics and sciences, STEM, I was out of the door. I failed terribly. I got straight E's and D's. I mean, I'm the type of people who I was a backbencher. Because anytime you sit at the front, you just get demoralized. Because the guys at the front were acing it. You're struggling, you're doing everything. Even you're putting tuition. And I'm still failing. I'm getting D's and E's. However, Within that same time, there was a science, what's it called? Science competition and mathematics. And someone said, hey, Norris, I need you to go and represent ABCD. I'm like, my friend, I am really terrible. But I was good at presenting. I was terrible at the mathematics and everything, but I was able to present. And I even got a certificate from it. Fast forward, remember I'm still bad at my mathematics? I go to college and campus. I was getting straight E's and D's in my math and my sciences. So let's go to the maths. But in campus, I was getting straight A's in accounts. Straight A's, even in campus. If you give me money, I can do budget. I work with a money. I'm always working with a budget calculator on my phone. Even have them on a sticky note. I mean, like the other day, I was just buying something and the vendor is like, you calculate everything. I'm like, yeah, every shilling, every coin. Mind you, I was terrible at the math. You see, if I would have listened to all the negative words I was told of how terrible I am, or I look at those results, I wouldn't have been there. Even I look at even my English, I wasn't good at it. I was terrible at it. I was learning. Remember, this is not my native language. This is the language imposed on us. And it was imposed in the most painful way. You're beaten the life out of your way to learn the language. But how did I become able to improve? I read a lot. I've read the DC comics, Marvel comics as a kid. Everything they were doing. I mean, I followed in terms of watching the actual films up till I think it was Endgame. Then after that, I stopped watching because everything that came production after Marvel was scrap after that. But yeah, for the 10 years up to that Endgame, I watched everything end to end. But I read them. I read the comics. My India used to be terrible. I've read novels. I can present. How? Because every time I stand and speak, I'm able to present. I had a relative who told me, oh, if you get to social media, it was when Twitter was still there. Oh, you'll be terrible, ABCD. Guess what? I've built a brand out of it, grown, and been able to build actual communities and even meet real people, have real connections through the same. If I listened to those negative words, I wouldn't be here. There's a politician who's very good at moving crowds, very terrible at their management skills, but good at moving crowds and identifying the right skill set to work under them. There is a business person. When they're speaking, they're presenting themselves, their presentation is terrible in terms of, they may not be very good in terms of linguistics. But trust to me, they get into that room, they're the best negotiators in the world. They negotiate millions and billions. And the person with all the English or whatever other language that's been spoken is the one writing everything on their diary. They're literally in the PA. They have been turned into the PA. Every one of us has a skill and a talent. You cannot compare two apples because one is red and the other one is green and say one is a lesser apple than the other. No, they're apples and they're all sweet. They may be different by color. You can't say the mango that is green and the other mango that is the other type of mango, a grafted mango, they are bad because one is different from the other. No, one is grafted, the other one is green. By the end of the day, they're both sweet. So this thing about comparing people ends up bringing so many issues that should never have been there in the very beginning. It is good to, I always say this, be the one to have the pen and own the ink to write a story, then have your own history, then having the world tell you what you can and cannot do. Yes, you may be brought up in a community or in a household whereby you are always told you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. You may have dated someone who told you you're not this, you're not this, you're not that. Guess what? It's their words, their flow. Keep moving. Because at the end of the day, if you let those words keep knocking at your door, you'll never make it in anything. Don't give those voices a platform in your mind. Because at the end of the day, you are better than how you actually think. Because assumptions, all these assumptions, they destroy. So instead of just assuming someone, it doesn't hurt to go and ask the question. Be confident to ask, respectfully, of course, and ask, is this or is that? Get the confirmation and get clarification. Then you have a clear communication. But as long as you assume because this is like that, they are like this gender is like that, or this people of demographic like this, you get it wrong, and you end up losing at the end of the day, because that person whom you've assumed all those things is not what you said or claim they are. Once you're able to figure that out, everything becomes easy. So instead of assuming everything, just ask. It doesn't hurt. Ask, get the information, get clarification, have clear communication. Simple, clear, don't complicate it.